So playing with rings, making jewels, all that kind of stuff. What about other options? Less ring jewelry, or which always good time, bracelets, necklaces, stuff like that. What if we want to go a little more? Well, let's go for the Ren Fair, something like that. Let's make something more like a bracelet, a bracer, something that goes across the whole arm. I mean, frankly, you convince me a whole shoulder pauldron or something is a wearable object and is bejeweled, whatever. It's using the exact same tools and such. So, I wanted to show you all something that I was playing with. So let me share my screen on Fusion. So this was a really basic bracer that's sort of kind of ish made in the shape of a forearm. Now, of course, the problem is with this sort of design, if it was rigid and 3D printed, well, you could either make it to where it would be form fitting and you couldn't get your hand in there, or you make this opening wider and you can get your hand in there and it doesn't sit right. So obviously, there's going to be some flaws to this design, but I just kind of wanted to show you how we could play with this sort of thing. Or it could also be the way that you could design like a wider bracelet or something like that. So what this is using the Loft tool, and more or less how it's actually intended to be used. And then I used the Emboss tool to make these designs and such. And then I, of course, ported over one of my the jewels and such. So I don't know. You can also go full if you want to try to get your hand at hand making your own Infinity Gauntlet sort of style. More power to you. All right. So what I did here, and I'll just leave it all on this same project and instead of starting a new one. Let me start instead a new component, which will be the example bracer. And of course, like always, it ghosts out what's not being used. So let's hide that other stuff. And what this uses is a series of construction planes. Whereas before, in using the Loft tool, we needed, as we know, the Loft tools that go down and create. Loft requires, it's just like the pipes and sweep tools in that it creates profile along the path using two or more profiles. But in this case, we're going to use the two or more. So what that is they can all be similar, they can all be vastly different, but whatever, but you need a series. And of course, it's going to help if you have these construction planes already pre-floated and such, because yes, you could always take a circle sketch and actually move it over and such, but it becomes really kind of finicky and really tedious to move sketches back and forth individually. But if you put them on a construction plane, you could move the whole construction plane very easily, and you don't have to worry about isolating things as badly. So that's what we're going to do. So what I've done, and will include the origin plane. So I've made a series of working off of the XZ axis. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, do you need 5? No. But in this case, I was just playing with it. So I'm going to activate this component, but I can still make use of these construction planes because they're out, even though they're outside, they're not on an individual component. They're just with everything else. And in this case, I'm just going to go through making sketches on each one. So let's start with the first one. Start to there. And in this case, I'm just going to use a circle. So now if you're trying to measure something, if you're trying to make it actually built around your wrist or so, what I have here, and pardon me, I'll stop share so you can see, whoops, more clearly here. So this is a pair of calipers, vernier calipers, digital calipers. These are meant for measuring inside and outside diameter circles or round things. It has two sets of jaws here that's in between, and these little tines that are meant to fit inside. So if I was measuring something like a water bottle, open the jaws, get it around, and that water bottle is, well, and this one's digital, so it can flip flop. So it's about 2.75, so 2 3/4 inches in diameter, or switch to millimeters, and that's just shy of 70 millimeters. Pretty handy. These other tines here are for going inside of things and measuring the inside diameter. There you go. So what would my wrist be? Now, the problem is, of course, if you're trying to start at the wrist, well, if you start right there, well, your hand's got to be able to get past it. So give yourself a little extra space. Even squished up, my wrist or my squashed up hand is more about like, let's say generously or around 85 millimeters. Okay, so we're going to work backwards from there. So I'll go back over to Fusion. And this circle was way wrong size. So let's use the sketch dimension tool. That was 450 millimeters. So that's too big. 85 works better. There we are. Okay, first sketch done. So what I need to do is work from there backwards. So I'll just kind of start working, grab another sketch. Now, this will get a little bit awkward in trying to figure out exactly how big. So let's just make that one 100. All right. Keep going. New sketch. Oh, nope. Finish sketch. Create a new sketch. Next construction plane. And this is where we can start playing around with stuff. Let's make it an oval that's slightly larger. I don't know, 120. Whoops. Dang it. Same deal here. 120 by, I don't know, apparently 105. Okay. Finish sketch. And another sketch on just the next construction plane back. Same deal. I don't know. Let's make it even bigger. Something more to that effect. Cool. Finish sketch. Now, on this last one, I'm going to show you, not that I have to do it only on the last one, but let's go back to a circle. And let's make it, I don't know. How big around my forearm? 104. Okay. So that actually shrunk back down. That's not a problem. Okay. But one thing I want to show you, because what I did on the other one is this backside is actually curved. You can play with these things. On the sketch tool box here, the very bottom, there's a checkbox for 3D sketch. What that lets you do is move beyond this standard flat digital plane. So I could actually start sketching in different dimensions within the same sketch. Now that one went directly, but as I started another one, you can see how it's actually now asking me if I want to go in a different direction, rotating, something like that. Stuff gets real weird. But what I can do within here, so you can use the move tool. I'm going to select that circle, and now I'm going to go to the right, and I'm just going to rotate it a bit. Let's say about 20 degrees. All right, cool, great. Finish sketch. So that just changed the profile to there. So far, I'm just kind of playing around. Let's save. Profiles. There we go. So now let's go to the Loft tool. Now, when you have multiple lofts and such, before we were just using 2 profiles, you have to select in order. Doesn't matter which way you go. In this case, I'm going to start at the front, selecting one to the next, to the next, to the next. And now it is creating a more form. And of course, you can see what happens when you have the forms not quite too close, or if they're a little bit misshapen, you get a misshapen thing. But with all of that, now I've got this design. Now, in this case, it is going to create, because we're working in a solid workspace, hit OK. It's going to create a solid object. That is a wonky bracer. It looks more like half of a sweet potato. But anyway, fine. We'll make vegetable armor. That's what it is. You're making armor for your favorite vegetables. Now, in all reality, what we'd probably be using is actually creating this in the surface, but we're not going to deal with that right now. We're going to keep keeping the same tools we're using right now. But an easy way to hollow this out, and something we're going to work on the next project, is the shell tool. When you pop it out, when you mouse over it, this basically, what it does is it hollows out the form, and it creates an offset. It's another offset tool. We're using a lot of these offset tools. It just creates an offset, just like the emboss, all that, but it creates it from the outside wall inward to create a hollow shape. And you select the faces you want to make as openings. So let's select there, and select the front, and let's say 3 millimeters. Okay, that just opened the whole thing, but it also selected, it stayed more of like, well, now it's a weird drink holder. But let's instead select 2 faces, and won't let me do it because I've already done though. Let's redo the tool. If you enter an amount, it won't let you select more than one face. Now that I have not entered an amount, I can select two faces, and let's do the same, 3 millimeters. Now it hollows it from both sides. So I'm creating a hollow shape entirely. Granted, yes, I could also just extrude straight through and get a true shape, but we're just showing how to make a hollow thing really easy. And there we go. And that, I just hit shift in for auto color. Now I just made an automatic, or an automatically colored thing, but now I have kind of a rough bracer shape. So easy thing to do. So this would be now when you could play around with, like I showed you before. Um, let's hide the example one and bring back the original. So you can create shapes on the front. Now the reason this one has ridges is because just playing around one of the sketch profiles on the Loft, I put in a polygon instead of just a circle or a round one, so it generated these facets all the way along. So you could make the whole thing. I don't know, make the whole thing a jeweled bracer. I don't know, play with that. Anyway, so back to the component I'm working on. So this would now be, all right, we played with the stuff we've done. Let's create a construction plane in here, floating. Oh, wrong one. Hard to get at the one that I'm trying to get to. No. There. And I don't know, just float it somewhere above 130. Cool. And now we're back to the old sketch. Plane, project, body. There we go. Hide the bodies. I have a profile to play with. And now I could do just kind of whatever. So I don't know. What I did before is I kind of created just like an oval shape that might be where I put like a jewel. Cool. And then I don't know, let's kind of do some doodles here. Now in this case, I am going to create a complete sketch. So, or a closed profile. So let's do, I don't know, sure, -5. Da, 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 da. Sure. Let's close those in. Go. Now, if I do too many circles on the sides, it might be easier to recreate this whole thing and do sketches from the side of the design. So let's just kind of keep it simple up here. I'm going to mirror that sketch profile there. Mirror line is across something. Is there anything I can use? Nope, didn't have a line already drawn. That's obnoxious. Why it keeps rotating like that? Just draw a line smack down the center. It does not matter. This is just there. Turn that into a construction plane. Cool. There we go. All right. Mirror that across. There we are. Got two of them. Cool. There we go. And finish sketch. Unhide the bodies there. And now let's play with the emboss tool. So I should be able to still use emboss simply. Sketch profiles. I don't know, those two. Let's just isolate these onto the face. Boop. There we go. Nice. I don't know. Let's make it 5. Does kind of funky stuff, but you're seeing where we're going with it. Okay. Repeat the emboss for that. Oh, God. Hide sketches. For that one and on the faces. There we are. Straight up and down. Or if you wanted instead that to be straighter, what did we play with before? I can use the offset face. In order to use that in this case, what we could have done was before we were playing with the I made an intersection with the extrude. And what I said would you before you could instead just like do like a split face, which is what we used before. Face to split. Splitting profile is just that. And all it's going to do, let me deselect the extending thing. It's just going to now create an outline right there. So this is just a different way of, like I did before, of using the sketch and project to surface. Kind of sort of the same thing. It's not actually the same thing, but this now created a completely split line. But this would be like, I could now use a pipe tool there. And I don't know if I let it cut in, now it's going to create this little groove. Cool. So you can play around with a lot of this stuff pretty quickly. and start getting some really interesting shapes. But main thing is I just wanted to show you how you can use the Loft tool to create a elongated shape. Now, it didn't even have to be on a straight line. We could have started playing with different paths that Loft follows, all that kind of stuff. But just a straightforward way of working that way. So obviously from there, like I did with the other version, let me reactivate the whole project, hide that one, unhide the jewel, and I started bringing in I just imported the jewel from the other one. Obviously, this design does not fit correctly, but just playing with stuff. So yeah, just some different ways of playing. Just some different ideas for the whole thing. Play about with it, see where you get to there. Let's save it before I forget. Emboss. And save. Okay, cool. Yeah, so a really basic wearable thing. Oh, I forgot. The one last thing that I wanted to say is if you wanted to create this as okay, I wanted this to be like form fitting, but obviously there's no way I can get my hand in there. I just showed you how to use the split face. What we haven't done is use the split body. Same deal, only it actually chops the thing in two. So what I could do is select the whole project, that body, and I can just use, since I built this whole thing around the origin planes and such, we'll just use that origin plane. See how it's encircling the whole thing? And right now, as far as bodies, I have one body. That's the whole bracer thing. Hit OK. Now it's split it into two. So now I have a top half and a bottom half of the shell. So technically what you could do is you could model this to walls are thick enough or something to put like magnets or something in there. Stick it on and it'll hold, magnets will hold it in place. We're not going to get into that whole thing just right now, but I just wanted to show you how you could go about making a thing where if you wanted this really wearable, make it that way, or just make it a little bit shorter so it still fits over your hand, and then you basically just have some bangle bracelets. So whatever, up to you. Play around with it, see what it comes to.